Boom! The Texas Longhorns land Toray Davis, defensive back out of Boulder, Colorado, Fairview High School, 6'1", 190 pounds. Gerry originally committed to UCLA back in the summer. When their coaching situation went awry, he looked around, took some other visits, including one to Washington, and that is who Texas really beat out here over Washington. Texas wins over Washington. His dad played at Colorado as well. That's why they live in the Boulder area. Gerry, tell me what you think of this young man, Toray Davis, out of Boulder, Colorado.
Well, we talked about him before, and look, he doesn't play against the fastest players, in Colorado, but what he is a natural playmaker. That you can see about him, whether he's at defensive back, wide receiver, running back. Obviously put up some gaudy stats, which I'm sure you'll get to in a second. But as far as the player, look, I think he shows some defensive back versatility. He was offered by Mark Orfe, right? So I think he's going to get a shot at corner. Does that mean he's absolutely going to play corner? We're not going to say that. We're saying that he's going to get a shot at corner, but he's also he's a talented defensive back that could play, maybe he could play a nickel, maybe he ends up playing safety. But what he does show is the ability to make plays on the ball. And that translates to wide receiver for him because he's got really good timing. He snatches the ball out of the air with sure hands. He can make some people miss after the catch. So he can make that interception and then turn that into a momentum-changing play after the interception. So I like everything he does, shows athletically on tape, with the understand that he's not really pushed athletically either on this tape very often. But I think he also shows some physicality. He's got good size, Bobby. He's about 6'1", 185. Looks like he has pretty good length to him as well. But a guy that just is he may end up being one of those heads up, always around the ball type of players. Those guys have a lot of value.
You mentioned gaudy stats and always around the ball. 3 years, last 3 years, he has 14 interceptions, Gerry. 4 as a sophomore, 4 as a junior, and then 6 as a senior this year. Phenomenal stats on that side of the ball. But we'll see more of his receiving highlights here. Listen to this, Gerry. 70 catches in 2025 for 1,557 yards. That's more than 23 yards or 22 yards a catch, 16 touchdowns. So that's 16 touchdowns through the air. Phenomenal season. Here's his rushing stats. He only rushed about 50 times for 535 yards. Out of those rushes, you know how many touchdowns he had? 23. So you're right. I mean, he's not playing the greatest competition. This isn't Duncanville versus, IMG Academy or something like that. But he's clearly dominating a level of play unlike few people you see. Again, 1,500+ yards receiving, 14 interceptions in his career, 39 touchdowns as a senior in high school. Toray Davis. Look, you touched on what position he might play. Could play corner, could play nickel, could be a safety, could be just a guy that has a lot of versatility. I wonder, you look at this Texas secondary class, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Dwayne Akina is accustomed to doing back there. You mentioned this is a Mark Orfe offer, but Dwayne Akina likes defensive backs that can play any position. And that seems to be a focus of Texas this year.
Yeah, like for sure. Yaheem Riley, a guy that could be a nickel or safety, right? I mean, and you look at the rest of the defensive back class, it's very similar that there's versatility outside of Samari Matthews, who I think is pretty much locked in the playing a corner position. Then you look at a guy like Jermaine Bishop, and we all think he's going to play offense, but man, he's really good on defense too. And he could play a corner, he could play a nickel. I mean, that guy's a playmaker is what he is. So yeah, there's a lot of versatility amongst the defensive back commitments, or a guy that could potentially play defensive back. But one of the things I really like about this defensive back class is Samari Matthews, a physical player against the run. Yaheem Riley, very physical player. I actually heard it from I went to Friendswood High, and that's who Austin Anderson beat in the playoffs. And a couple of parents of Friendswood players said that kid going to Texas was the hardest hitter on the field in the playoff game. Hard hitter. This kid, physical football player. He's more than a playmaker. He's a physical football player. So I really like where Texas is headed from the physicality department of this secondary class, because you got to have it in the SEC. Got to.
You do have to have it. A couple other thoughts I had here as we're winding down this recruiting class. Nice pickup. Texas has on a little bit of a roll in recruiting overall, Jerry. National Signing Day, obviously Wednesday. It is a situation right now where we're waiting to see who all ends up with Texas. He visited Texas over the weekend for the Texas A&M game. That weekend stayed in Austin. Look, Texas has a chance here to finish up strong. Toray Davis, a big pickup, though, for Texas overall.
Yeah, for sure. But prior to his obviously commitment to UCLA and then the flip to Texas, he when he initially made that decision to go to UCLA, he picked him over Utah and Kansas State. Utah, obviously, they have a pretty good history of evaluating defensive backs there between Kyle Whittingham and his D coordinator over there, who does a great job recruiting Texas. Then when he kind of backed off or remained UCLA commit, but kind of reopened the process, he went up and visited Wisconsin, then Washington, then Texas. So he had a lot of the top programs on the West Coast pay him attention in Washington and Utah throughout this process. I think Jed Fish does a really good job at Washington as well. Did a good job at Arizona. So I think Texas has found a guy as a senior that's shown really good playmaking and really good upside. And I think we've seen a lot of upside guys late in this class.
Do you like this defensive class at this point? Because he obviously adds to it here.
I do like this defensive class. I love Richard Wesley at edge. Love Richard Wesley at edge. I'm a big fan of his. I love Tyler Atkinson at linebacker. I think Tyler Atkinson can be an impact player for Texas. Both those guys, obviously, early enrollees. Kosi Okpala, strong senior season. Kind of a guy that's risen up some rankings as a senior. Samari Matthews, his Huff team is going to play for the state championship. I think he's had a really good season. Recent pickup, Jamarian Carlton, was 206 pounds his freshman year in high school. He was 281 at Texas last weekend. 281. So he has gained 75 pounds as a high school player, headed to over 300 pounds. Good upside there. James Johnson, very talented defensive lineman. Corey Wells has a lot of upside. Hayward Howard, saw him practice this year at Edna Carr. A lot of upside and length to him. He's played as much safety as he has corner this year. The recent linebacker pickup, Rocky Cummings, has a great frame to build on. We talked about some of the other defensive backs in this class already. And also, which I kind of count on the defensive side too. I think Texas got a great punter coming in now.
Yeah, Mikey Bukakis, you're no doubt about it. A young man out of the Metroplex, clearly one of the nation's top punter, so much so that they may not go to the portal for a punter. Also, Jerry, I wanted to ask you about a couple of other Longhorns that are in this recruiting class from this standpoint. Now, you mentioned Jermaine Bishop, and you think he might be more of a offensive player at this point, even though when Texas first started talking to him, it sounded like it was going to be defense. He's just had such a tremendous year now that it just may be wherever you can get him on the field the fastest.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, punt returners probably. I mean, Ryan Nibble has time left in Austin. Maybe it's kickoff return, but Jermaine Bishop's fine. I find it hard to believe he can't factor into the return game immediately. But, Bobby, yeah, it's going to be a tough call there because I think he can be a tremendous defensive back, right? And Texas has a need at corner, right? Or nickel, depending on what they do with Grayson Littleton in the spring. Does he stay at nickel? Does he work at corner more? But there's very few guys like Jermaine Bishop who does what he does on that level on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, for those that missed it, his playoff game against Forney last Saturday, he had 15 receptions for 328 yards in a third-round playoff game in 6A Texas football. I mean, that is an unbelievable game he's put together and an unbelievable career scoring touchdowns he's put together. Mm-hmm. Bobby, you always say Texas needs touchdown scores. That makes it hard to put Jermaine Bishop on defense for me.
Yeah, I agree. Texas does need touchdown scores. They also need defensive backs to get their hands on the football.
That's true.
Toray Davis with 14 interceptions in his varsity career, pretty darn strong. I wanted to add this as well. He is a two-sport player, also a starter on the varsity basketball team for the last 2 years. So he is not just a one-sport guy. also a multi-sport guy. And his dad did play for the Colorado Buffaloes, defensive back as well. So there's some DNA there with Toray Davis. All right, Jerry, that's going to do it for this episode. Congratulations to Toray Davis out of Boulder, Fairview, the most recent Texas Longhorn commitment. One last note for you, Toray. Hook 'em horns, buddy.